Hi everybody, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Linda.
And welcome to this edition of the VAPI Fireside Chats. We're sitting here by the campfire and we can kind of get the view over there. There it is.
There it is.
Yep, it's blaring back here and it's a beautiful night out. It's like
It is.
60.
And it's a full moon.
It is, a full moon, yep. I had a wonderful time in Yorktown earlier. I was out giving a ghost tour down there.
Right.
So we do the Yorktown ghost walks, right? And we go down there and love doing those because we get to interact with people and tell them about what I think is the most haunted town in the state, Yorktown, and so much history. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I have to say that that's one of the like there's only really 2 tours that go through Yorktown, but I have to say that ours is the best. And the reason being because when Jeff was preparing to write his book, The Ghosts of Yorktown, we did an abundance of research. We actually went down to the Yorktown Library where they have this little room off to the side and it's filled with all of these historical books and everything. And it was kind of amazing because as we were going through this information, we're finding one source of information and then we're finding something else that contradicts it. And it was like, this little bit of a mystery or a puzzle that we had to kind of put together and say, okay, we have to take all of these accounts and try to put them together into some sort of, try to find some cohesion between them. And no other tour, no other people who do ghost tours really do this. They don't spend an abundance of time in a local library trying to research the local area and find the history behind places. And that's what the cool thing about this is that if you ever get a chance to come down to Yorktown, most of the time it's Jeff, sometimes it's Will. I plan on starting up and doing the tours myself. I started doing them when the ghost tours first started up, but I kind of slacked off a little bit, and I'm going to be getting back to it. But like I say, it's not just a biased opinion. These are the best ghost tours in Yorktown. We plan on starting up in Williamsburg very soon, and we're trying to expand to other locations as well.
Letting the cat out of the bag.
Look out, Williamsburg.
Man.
We're coming for
Look
you.
out, Williamsburg, because there's also a book coming, perhaps, too. I don't know.
Could be.
We'll see what happens.
Schiffer might be interested.
Maybe they will. Yeah. Maybe they will.
Yeah, exactly.
But Linda has pulled up a question from one of our viewers.
I've got quite a few of them, as a matter of fact.
A couple of them. And we'd like to take them one at a time and respond to some of them. And if we still have time left, we'll pose questions to each other. If not, hopefully these will be pretty cool.
That's right. Okay, so one of the questions came from Cindy H. And she says, has there ever been a moment during a paranormal investigation that bothered you so much that you almost quit?
So I'm going to turn the camera on Linda, and she'll respond to that, and then she'll flip it over to me.
So I have to say right off, if you're talking about quitting paranormal investigation altogether, I have to say no. There's never been a moment that actually made me want to quit investigating. There have only been moments that made me want to continue investigating and to continue trying to find out the truth behind these mysteries. And that's the deal with it. It's a pursuit of the truth. It's a pursuit of the answer behind these mysteries. I've always loved mysteries of all kinds, really. I'm into true crime as well. And whenever I encounter something that is surprising or that, because paranormal encounters really, most of the time, let's say 90% of the time when you're out investigating, it is boring. Like, let's just say it flat out. It's freaking boring, right? You're standing there in the dark. You're asking questions into the darkness and nothing is occurring, nothing's happening. But there is that small percentage of times when you're out there and something actually occurs, whether it's the REM pod going off and sometimes in response to your questions. Sometimes it's a shadow that moves across an area and you just like, oh, what was that, But that's a very small percentage. And when that does occur, I'd have to say there's a couple of times I can think of that stand out in our investigations that really kind of took me aback. And one of those cases was a younger girl who lived in a garage. I don't know. She lived like mostly in the garage of her parents' house, and she must not have been more than 19 years old. And she claimed that there was a lot of paranormal experiences in the neighborhood that she lived in, and that most of them seemed to be surrounding this one house that was down the street. And we went out there, this was somewhere outside of Richmond, and walked down the street, walked around, tried to figure out exactly where it was.
Henrico, I believe.
Henrico, you might be right, yes. And we're kind of surprised by the feelings that we got, because I told her that I thought that the experiences were not coming from this one house where she thought they were coming from. They were coming from a house that was across the street from it, that was a really creepy house for some reason, sort of abandoned, sitting there by itself. But you know, there were some cases like that where I can look back and say I actually saw something. And this was sitting in her front driveway, looking out across the street and seeing shadow figures moving in the front yard of this house over there. The figures, some kind
The
of
squirrel
waterfowl.
likes what you're saying.
I think it's waterfowl.
The night squirrel.
I'm pretty sure we don't have night squirrels here. We don't have any kind of squirrels here. But looking out and seeing the light coming off the front porch of this house across the street, and seeing what looked like these tall shadow figures moving around quickly. They don't move slow. They move sort of quick all the way across through the light that's shining from the front porch and around the back side of the house. And I remember thinking to myself, this is one of those rare opportunities when you get to see something that is not something you're going to see every day, even on every investigation. But like I said, even in an instance like that, it's not the kind of thing that's going to make me run away. It's going to be one of those things that makes me want more.
So I've always been a big Dion and the Belmonts fan. For those of you that don't know, Dion and the Belmonts are the ones that sang Teenager in Love and I Wonder Why, and a bunch of hits back in the 50s. But at one point, Dion, he left the Belmonts. He went solo, sang such great songs as The Wanderer and Run Around Sue. And I wonder, like, why did this great group split up? Well, I think maybe it's because Dion, like, he didn't want to quit per se, but the other people like pissed him off. And that's the closest I came to quitting, was being like, I got these team members that I just gotta I just gotta stop meeting with these people and go out and do something on my own. Now this is by no means current, but it's at a time when I have like these two people that are constantly fighting with each other. And the one guy is afraid that the blind guy is going to come and beat him up when the blind guy doesn't drive, you know, and this girl that's on our team is telling me that the other guy on our team is constantly hitting on her and trying to get her and getting mad because she won't go out with him. And it's all this drama that ensues. Like, people, you have no idea what kind of drama ensues when you're trying to run a paranormal investigation team here. It's crazy. So it's never been the ghosts or the scariness that has made me want to quit. It's been the team members. And that's the short and sweet answer. But I could never quit investigating. I could never do that. It's something that I think way back, like I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries with my dad, and him showing me these UFO shows and all this mystery that was out there that I had to find. And way back on like Windows 95, playing this little game where these kids were in their headquarters were in this treehouse and they solved mysteries. Like, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? So watching Scooby-Doo, growing up on that stuff, it's like in me, like to investigate the paranormal. So I've never come close to quitting. And I'll tell you, there have been some scary experiences. There have. But kind of like Linda said, those experiences have made me want to dive more into the paranormal. There's so much that you do out there that is boring. And I can't say really boring, because anytime I'm at an investigation, I'm hyped up. I really am. Even though I'm sitting there in a room in the dark, just listening to nothing, I'm eager to be there. I'm excited to be there. But there are a lot of times where nothing happens. But that one moment, that 1 out of 20 times where something significant happens, and it's something enough to be like, oh, wow, that is some pretty freaky stuff right there. That stuff makes me want it more. That gives me just a little tug on the line. You know what I mean? Like when you're fishing, you're giving that fish some slack, and all of a sudden, there you go. And it's that exciting moment that pulls me into it even more and wants me more of it. Makes me want more of it. All right, so Linda, how about another viewer question that kind of ties into this one?
Right. Okay, we have a fan here that says his username is eSan, E.SAN. And his question was, or her question perhaps, was, what's a location that creeps you out the most, and would you return to said location?
Now, this is one that I think we can both agree on. We touched on in our last video. The location was Ragged Island.
Absolutely.
And we talked a little bit about that in not the last video, the one before that.
Right.
So definitely check out the Ragged Island investigation. That was one where we left, but we're eager to go back. Definitely.
Yeah.
I will say now, a few years ago, I have some former members of the team that will not go to Old House Woods, will not go near that place.
Yeah.
Because of something they saw there. It was this figure, I'm not going to make a short story long, but this figure was walking down this path towards us, this shadow figure. Clearly see the outline of this person getting towards us with a purpose. Shine the light up, he's gone. Take it down, here he is coming towards us. Needless to say, I have a member or two that will not go back to Old House Woods.
But you've been back many times, even though you saw the same thing.
Several times, yes, because it's one of those things that made me want to delve deeper into it, find out what is there.
Yes.
Now, you got another interesting question.
I do. And let's pull it up here. Well, and I have to mention this one comment because it made me laugh so much. This guy, Ronnie Isaacs, says he totally agrees with us with our discussion of kind of politics and the way people think nowadays on the last video. He says most people in the current administration are like Frank Burns from MASH. Okay, this made me laugh because I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm a huge MASH fan. I never liked Frank Burns as a leader. Okay. But he was this comical figure, and I have to actually say that in the last episode, where his helicopter was shot down as he was flying over the Pacific, he was finally going home after all of this turmoil and all of this trouble, and his helicopter was shot down. Like, I literally cried at that moment. Okay, so I just have to mention, I feel you. I know exactly what you're talking about. The administration seems very much to me like Frank Burns, and it's funny that you mentioned that. We get a lot of really good comments, and that's just one of them that I say I have to touch on because, like, I was there. I was like, yeah, Frank Burns, I know what you're talking about. Now, there's been another one, and this one was, let's see, from... Let me put my glasses on so I can make sure that I'm reading this correctly. Mega Cheesers with a Z, Cheesers. How do you guys get plenty of sleep after investigations, and do you protect yourself?
That is an excellent question. So,
there's quite a few of them here.
You want to both kind of respond to that, or what do you say?
Yeah, I think I could start out and
all right, let's flip it around on Linda and see what she says about protection.
So as far as getting plenty of sleep after an investigation, of course, there's sometimes when we come home and the sun has already come up. We have a small bedroom in a part of the house where we have like the only window in the bedroom looks out over this porch, and the porch has a roof over it. So when we draw the shades, it actually stays fairly dark in there. And sometimes we'll crawl in bed at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and the sun's come up, the birds are singing, and we'll just crawl in there and fall fast asleep until about maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't always work with the situation that we're in nowadays, where we have to watch our children and things like that. You know, you got to be up a little bit earlier. But if you let your kids stay up really late at night, and then they're going to sleep later in the morning, and they're more on your schedule. We've kind of tuned them into to our sort of lifestyle as far as that's concerned. But as far as protecting ourselves, now that's one of the things that is kind of to each his own. And I have to say that because you have to really truly believe in the method of protecting yourself. If somebody says, hey, this is the method that you should take, but you don't necessarily believe spiritually in that method, then it's not going to work for you. Now, for us, of course, being Christians, we're people that we turn to Scripture. We turn to basic scriptures in the Bible that are for protection. I remember maybe about 7 or 8 years ago going through the Bible and finding all of these scriptures and putting them all together in some sort of format, like one scripture after another, that is a basic method of praying for protection before I go into a location. Now, I pulled that up recently, read it. I didn't read it on video, but I read it before we walked into this investigation in Mechanicsville, because we knew that there was something that was probably evil there. And that's the case when I want to pull it out, I want to read it, and I want to make sure I go over it before I go into the investigation. And most of the time it seems to work. I mean, there's only been one instance, I'd have to say, in probably the 6 or 7 years that I've been investigating, where I felt like there was something that followed me home or something that threatened me. So I think that's pretty successful, you know. But as far as an overall method of protection, there isn't one, because if somebody else doesn't believe in Christianity, then the method that I propose to them to actually protect themselves may or may not work for them, just because they don't have that belief in it. Even if I can turn around and say, well, this is the only way and this is the only way it works. Yeah, but still, at the same time, you've got to really truly believe in what you're doing and what you're putting forth out in your house or in your life. And that's why in a lot of cases, we won't do any kind of house cleansing that is Christian based for somebody who is perhaps Hindu or perhaps Buddhist. You know, if that's the case, then we're going to say you need to seek somebody out in your community, a spiritual leader who is going to be able to give you that direction, because that's the method that you're going to believe in the most. That's the method that is going to be most effective for you.
On the road, you can plan. I mean, if, for example, we'll take investigations and we'll have weekends where we're doing 2, 3, sometimes more investigations between a Friday and Saturday night. Sometimes we're at one hotel on a Friday night and a different one on a Saturday night. Unfortunately, when you're on the road, the hotel checkout time is usually early. It's usually before noon. It's like 10 or 11 o'clock. And in that case, you don't get sleep. You're going tired the next night. And you get sleep again on Sunday night before you got to go to work on Monday. What we love is the campgrounds, because the campgrounds usually have a much later checkout time, and we can kind of sleep in the morning, go at our own pace. And that's one of the reasons that we love camping. On the road, it's one thing when you get to come home, you can sleep till you want to, block out the light from the window, but on the road, you're going to be sleep deprived for the weekend doing investigations, 100%. You're not getting as much sleep as you want to. Protection is a thing that a lot of people do, and I've had a lot of people confront me and say, you need to do some kind of protection, you need to sage, you need to do this, you need to do that. And that's fine if that works for them. But my view is a little bit different on that. My knowledge comes from faith. And my faith is that God is our protection, and I'm always protected. And the closer I grow with him in my relationship with him, the more protected I am. Because my life is my life's goal is to be able to conform myself to his word. And though I fall short so many times, sure, demons and the devil can use that as a foothold to try to get in and mess with me, but they see where my sights are. My sights are on the end, on the kingdom come. And they don't want to waste their time on that because they know they're not going to pull me away from that. The closer I come to God, I believe, the less room there is for anything to interfere with my life. So my protection isn't something that I will do just before an investigation. I will pray before investigations. The main focus on my prayers is that we'll be able to help the people that we're trying to help, and for them to come to God, and for him to be able to work in their lives and push this evil out of their lives. So I will pray before the investigations, and of course I'll pray that he'll watch over the team and guide our actions and our words, and help us to reach these people and be able to effectively remove whatever's there, effectively help these people. But as far as protection for myself, I believe that on the path I'm on, I'm already protected. I can go into any situation right now and have full confidence that I'm going to be protected by God, and should I meet my demise, I'm going to be with him at the end. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode of the VAPI Fireside Chat.
Mm-hmm.
Linda's got one more question that she wants to respond to.
Right.
Kind of a short answer.
Yes.
Before we go on here.
Somewhat of a short answer, yes. So there's a person who commented that's name is T.A. Brown. And T.A. Brown was asking, what do you think of Jeff losing his beard? So I had to respond to this one. The beard is one of those things that I'm kind of have this love-hate relationship with. And the reason being because I like a beard on a man. My father, when I was growing up, often had a mustache or a beard. And but that was like the late 70s and stuff, so that was like common, you know. I do like a beard, I have to say, and especially on Jeff because he's got such a baby face. And if he doesn't have a beard, people are like, "Oh, is that your son?" You know, and I'm like, "No, it's not my son." But when he has a beard, he looks a little bit more my age, right? You know, he looks a little bit like we're more on common ground. And I do like that kind of rugged, manly look. Now, the problem comes in, the hate part of this comes in, when we're out at dinner and he's sitting there eating something like a messy burger, and remnants of this burger are getting caught into his beard down here, and he just like doesn't even realize it because he can't see himself at that point. He's got this burger and he's like blah, 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 and he's got like, you know, stuff stuck in his beard, and I'm like, baby, do something about that. Like, I don't want to look at that, right? You know?
It keeps it off of my shirt.
It does. It does. It is a catch-all for.
It's catch-all.
Yeah, it does. You don't destroy too many shirts with your big burgers and stuff. But
that's right.
But yeah, I do kind of wish that he would shave it down a little bit. Like, I would be much happier with like sort of a little bit of a closer cut beard than what he's got right now. Because, you know, he doesn't tend to be one of those people who's like metrosexual, who takes care of his beard and stuff. And,
no, I don't take care of anything.
No, he doesn't. No, he just kind of lets it go, you know, like he lets it run wild. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Now, if we have to mention his hair, I've been on his ass for a couple of weeks now. I'm like, you got to cut your hair. You got to cut your hair. You got to cut your hair. Because when he takes his hat off, this stuff is like he put his finger in a light socket, and you know, it's a little overwhelming, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things that's like, okay, you got to do something about this because you're looking like Kramer on Seinfeld, and that's not a sexy look for you, right? You know, but the beard, you know, at the beard I can deal with. It hasn't gotten too out of hand yet. Now, if it grew any longer and he wasn't taking care of it, yeah, something have to be done. Like I'd have to attack him in the middle of the night with some clippers and stuff.
Oh, like some Samson and Delilah type stuff.
Yeah, try to hit
cutting the beard, and then
the,
I wake up weak.
and the hair at the same time. Like, you know, at least I gotta mow a path down the center of the head so that you're forced to do something about it. You know?
Yeah, that'd be rough. That'd be rough. But maybe we can post a side-by-side up here of beard and no beard.
Yes. It'd have to be from quite a few years ago. You haven't had a beard in a long time.
I've had a beard for a long time. Yes. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. Until next time, remember, there's much more to see in the beard.
You don't want to see what's in the beard.